So 39. No free man shall be seized or imprisoned or stripped of his rights or possessions, or outlawed or exiled or deprived of his standing in any other way, nor will we proceed with force against him or send others to do so except by the lawful judgment of his equals or by the law of the land. Okay, if you look at the 5th article of the Bill of Rights, it says no one can be held for an infamous or capital crime but by indictment from what? A grand jury. Where do they get that from? Right here, 39. 40. To no one will we sell, to no one deny or delay right of justice. 41. All merchants may enter or leave England unharmed and without fear, and may stay or travel within it by land or water for purposes of trade, free from all illegal exactions, in accordance with ancient and lawful customs. This, however, does not apply in time of war to merchants from a country that is at war with us. Any such merchants found in our country at the outbreak of war shall be detained without injury to their persons or property until we or our Chief Justice have discovered how our own merchants are being treated in the country at war with us. If our own merchants are safe, they shall be safe too. Now, you have to understand, back at that time, merchants were many times used as the international spies because they could go in and out of countries freely. In fact, our family, our lineage goes back to merchants that did that between England and France. 42. In future it shall be lawful for any man to leave and return to our kingdom unharmed and without fear by land or water, preserving his allegiance to us except in time of war. For some short period, for the common benefit of the realm, people that have been imprisoned or outlawed in accordance with the law of the land, people from a country that is at war with us, and merchants who shall be dealt with, as stated above, are accepted from this provision. 43. If a man holds lands of any escheat, such as the honor of Wallingford, Nottingham, Boulogne, Lancaster, or other escheats, in our hand that are baronies, at his death his heirs shall give us only the relief and service that he would have made to the baron, had the barony been in the baron's hand. We will hold the escheat in the same manner as the baron held it. So again, they saw that inheritance tax was wrong. 44. People who live outside the forest need not in future appear before the royal justices of the forest in answer to general summonses unless they are actually involved in proceedings or are sureties for someone who has been seized for a forest offense. 45. We will appoint as justices, constables, sheriffs, or other officials only men that know the law of the realm and are minded to keep it well. 46. All barons who have founded abbeys and have charters of English kings or ancient tenure as evidence of this may have guardianship of them when there is no abbot, as is their due. 47. All forests that have been created in our reign shall at once be disafforested. River banks that have been enclosed in our reign shall be treated similarly. 48. All evil customs relating to forests and warrens, foresters, warners, sheriffs, and their servants, or river banks and their wardens are at once to be investigated in every county by 12 sworn knights of the county. And within 40 days of their inquiry, the evil customs are to be abolished completely and irrevocably. But we, or our Chief Justice, if we are not in England, are first to be informed. 49. We will at once return all hostages and charters delivered up to us by Englishmen as security for peace or for loyal service. 50, we will remove completely from their offices the kinsmen of Gerard de Athie, and in future they shall hold no offices in England. The people in question are Englard de Segoni, Peter Guy, and Andrew de Chancey. Anyway, all four names. Notice all the four names. They're all French, aren't they? And his brother Philip Mark and his brothers with Geoffrey, his nephew, and all other of their followers. So notice, what did John's grandfather do, or great-grandfather do, or his great-grandfather when he came in, William the Conqueror? What did he do? He got rid of all the judges and put French judges in, right? And he was starting to hand out a lot of the lands to French friends that were coming in. He would seize the land and hand it out. This practice had been going on all the way up to John. And John was doing the same thing. His political rivals would have their lands taken, and he would give the land to his political friends. And these people were all foreigners, and they said, nope, that's done. We're going to strip them. 51, as soon as peace is restored, we will remove from the kingdom all the foreign knights, bowmen, their attendants, and the mercenaries that have come to it, to its harm with horses and arms. Again, the king had his foreign friends in place. Kind of like our southern border, right? Mm-hmm. They're foreign friends coming in to vote. But whatever, that's just my opinion. 52, to any man whom we have deprived or dispossessed of lands, castles, liberties, or rights without the lawful judgment of his equals, we will at once restore these. So if you notice, the foreign people that were in possession of lands and all that stuff, they're kicking out. Well, who owned that land? Right here, 52. The people who owned it are going to get their stuff back. In cases of dispute, the matter shall be resolved by the judgment of the 25 barons referred to below in the clause for securing the peace in subsection 61. Now we're going to look at subsection 61 because that's where the ancient power of the sheriff comes. In cases, however, where a man was deprived or dispossessed of something without the lawful judgment of his equals by our father King Henry or our brother King Richard, and it remains in our hands or is held by others under our warranty, we shall have respite for the period commonly allowed to crusaders unless a lawsuit had been begun or an inquiry had been made at our order before we took the cross as a crusader on our return from the crusade, or if we abandon it, we will at once render justice in full. 53, we shall have similar respite in rendering justice in connection with forests that are to be disafforested or to remain forests when these were first forested by our father Henry or our brother Richard, with the guardianship of lands and another person's fee, when we have hitherto had this by virtue of fee held of us for knight service by a third party, and with abbeys founded in another person's fee, in which the lord of the fee claims to own a right. On our return from the Crusades, or if we abandon it, we will at once do full justice to complaints about these matters. So again, you're starting to see this idea of due process, this idea that the king doesn't set in judgment, that foreign judges don't set in judgment, but the people themselves set in judgment, which wasn't the case before. If you went to the king's court, the judge judged you and handed down the punishment. But now we're starting to see that a jury of your peers, it's the people themselves. This is where we start seeing the grand jury and the criminal juries in our system of justice, or our legal system. It's no longer a justice system. 54, no one shall be arrested or imprisoned on the appeal of a woman for the death of any person except her husband. 55, all fines that have been given to us unjustly and against the law of the land, which is the common law from King Edward, and all fines that we have exacted unjustly shall be entirely remitted or the matter decided by a majority judgment of the 25 barons referred to below in the clause for securing the peace in subsection 61, again, we're starting to see peace officers, together with Stephen, Archbishop of Canterbury, if he can be present, and such others as he wishes to bring with him. If the Archbishop cannot be present, proceedings shall continue without him, provided that if any of the 25 barons has been involved in a similar suit himself, his judgment shall be set aside, and someone else chosen and sworn in his place as a substitute for the single occasion by the rest of the 25 barons. Again, we start to see this. If you're part of a controversy, you should not sit as a judge or jury in that controversy, right? We're supposed to see that in today's legal system. We've got a situation going on right now in Hillsdale where we've got someone that gains benefit from tax money being paid by the same people that brought suit and is sitting as the judge in that suit. Obviously, they don't understand ethics any better than what John understood ethics. 56, if we have deprived or dispossessed any Welshman of lands, liberties, or anything else in England or in Wales without the lawful judgment of their equals, these are at once to be returned to them. A dispute on this point shall be determined in the marches by the judgment of equals. English law shall apply to holdings of land in England, Welsh law to those in Wales, and the law of the marches to those in marches. The Welsh shall treat us and ours in the same way. So we had Wales, right? They actually spoke a little bit different language in Wales than they did in England. And they had their own customs. And so they understood that they should have their own customs and laws, and that they should be treated that way. Because the English didn't like it when the French came in and they were under the French customs and laws, right? When they knew that they had customs and laws. So they were trying to make it fair. They were trying to bring about justice. 57. In cases where a Welshman was deprived or dispossessed of anything without the lawful judgment of his equals, again, jury of his peers, by our father King Henry or our brother King Richard, and it remains in our hands or is held by others under our warranty, we shall have respite for the period commonly allowed to crusaders, unless a lawsuit had been begun or an inquiry had been made at our order before we took the cross as a crusader. But on our return from the crusade, or if we abandon it, we will at once do full justice according to the laws of Wales and the said regions. 58. We will at once return the son of Lionel, all Welsh hostages, and the charters delivered to us as security for the peace. 59. With regard to the return of the sisters and hostages of Alexander, King of Scotland, his liberties and his rights, we will treat him in the same way as our other barons of England, unless it appears from the charters that we hold from his father William, formerly King of Scotland, that he should be treated otherwise. This matter shall be resolved by the judgment of his equals in our court. Notice it says his equals, not our equals. So again, we get this idea that it has to be a jury of your peers, not a jury of someone else's peers, or just a group of people that we picked from the driver's license roll. 60. All these customs and liberties that we have granted shall be observed in our kingdom in so far as concerns our own relations with our subjects. Let all men of our kingdom, whether clergy or laymen, observe them similarly in their relations with their own men. Now we're going to get into chapter 61. And if you noticed earlier, it talked about subsection 61. And this is subsection 61. This is where they actually lay out a process to the law that they just stated. Since we have granted all these things for God, for the better ordering of our kingdom, and to allay the discord that has arisen between us and our barons, and since we desire that they shall be enjoined in their entirety with lasting strength forever, we give and grant to the barons the following security. The barons shall elect 25 of their number to keep and cause to be observed with all their might the peace and liberties granted and confirmed to them by this charter. Now, before we get any further, we have to realize the king was the top of the heap. The sheriff was the same as the king in the shire. The only time the sheriff was second to the king was if he was in the presence of the king in the realm. Other than that, the sheriff was the same as the king out and amongst into the shires and the counties and the boroughs. So this is why the story of Robin Hood, which is more than likely a fictional story, but it's very accurate for the time and what was going on. The sheriff was the chief tax collector, and he was basically judge, jury, and executioner out and amongst the people. They said no more. This is where you're going to start seeing the sheriff is no longer an agent for the king, but he has the same authority as he had before, but now he's an agent for the people against the king. This is why your sheriff, and a constitutional sheriff, is so important, because they carry the same ancient power. They're elected by the people, and they have state authority. But they're not working for the state. They work for the people. If we, our Chief Justice or officials or any of our servants offend in any respect against any man or transgress any of the articles of the peace or of this security, and the offense is made known to 4 of the said 25 barons, they shall come to us, or in our absence from the kingdom to the Chief Justice, to declare it and claim immediate redress. If we, or in our absence abroad, the Chief Justice, make no redress within 40 days, reckoning from the day on which the offense was declared to us or him, the 4 barons shall refer the matter to the rest of the 25 barons, who may distrain upon and assail us in every way possible, with the support of the whole community of the land, by seizing our castles, lands, possessions, or anything else, saving only our own person and those of the queen and our children, until they have secured such redress as they have determined upon. Having secured the redress, they may then resume their normal obedience to us. Resume their normal obedience to us. So if any of the royals took anything from any of the people, and they thought that it was wrong, they could redress that grievance to 4 of the 25 barons. And if one of those barons was one of the people that redress was against, they had 40 days. If they didn't take care of it in 40 days, other barons would become involved. And if they decided that they did take something from you and they shouldn't have, they had 10 days to give it back. If they didn't give it back in 10 days, then the sheriff had the legal authority under the law, under the Magna Carta, to assail the king or to assail the baron. Now, if you look in your definitions, what does assail mean? It's a forcible taking. So that's why it says that they have to preserve life and limb, but they can use all force up to that to assail what was taken from you, to give it back to you in the interest of justice. See, this is where the sheriff has the same authorities he had before, but now he works for the people against those that are in power of the state. Make sense? A lot of people don't understand the very power of the sheriff and where it comes from. This is where it comes from. This is the very ancient power of the sheriff. Any man who so desires may take an oath to obey the commands of the 25 barons for the achievement of these ends. Anybody heard of the posse comitatus and the sheriff being able to bring about a posse? This is where they get it right here. Any man who so desires may take an oath to obey the commands of the 25 barons for the achievement of these ends, and to join with them in assailing us to the utmost of his power. We give public and free permission to take this oath to any man who so desires, and at no time will we prohibit any man from taking it. Indeed, we will compel any of our subjects who are unwilling to take it to swear it at our command. Now, this is also loosely connected with our Article 6, Section 1, Clause 3, in which those that are elected must take an oath to the law. What are they doing here? They're taking an oath to the law. If one of the 25 barons dies or leaves the country, or is prevented in any other way from discharging his duties, the rest of them shall choose another baron in his place, at their discretion, who shall be duly sworn in as they were. Again, swore an allegiance not to the king, but swore an allegiance to the law. In the event of disagreement among the 25 barons on any matter referred to them for decision, the verdict of the majority present shall have the same validity as a unanimous verdict of the whole 25, whether these were all present or some of those summoned were unwilling or unable to appear. The 25 barons shall swear to obey all the above articles faithfully. Here's where we get Article 6, Section 1, Clause 3 in our Constitution. The 25 barons shall swear to obey all of the above articles faithfully, and shall cause them to be obeyed by others to the best of their power. We will not seek to procure from anyone, either by our own efforts or those of a third party, anything by which any part of these concessions or liberties might be revoked or diminished. Should such a thing be procured, it shall be null and void, and we will at no time make use of it, either ourselves or through a third party. This is where we get the second part of Article 6, Section 1, Clause 2, which says anything to the contrary in the constitutions or the laws of the state, notwithstanding. So if it doesn't go by the law, if it doesn't adhere to the law, it has no legal authority. It is void. 62. We have remitted and pardoned fully to all men any ill will, hurt, or grudges that have arisen between us and our subjects. Remember, the barons were having a hard time with the people too because of the policies of the king. Whether clergy or laymen, since the beginning of the dispute, we have in addition remitted fully, and for our own part have also pardoned to all clergy and laymen any offenses committed as a result of the said dispute between Easter and the 16th year of our reign, 1215, and in the restoration of peace. In addition, we have caused letters patent to be made for the barons bearing witness to this security and to the concessions set out above over the seals of Stephen, Archbishop of Canterbury, Henry, Archbishop of Dublin, and other bishops named above, and Master Pandulph. 63. It is accordingly our wish and command that the English Church shall be free, and that men in our kingdom shall have and keep all these liberties, rights, and concessions well and peaceably in their fullness and entirety for them and their heirs, of us and our heirs, in all things and all places forever. Both we and the barons have sworn that all this shall be observed in good faith and without deceit. Witness the above mentioned people and many others. So again, we get this full idea that the people have the divine right to liberty. Even though the king has a divine right to rule, the people have the divine right to liberty. Given by our hand in the meadow that is called Runnymede between Windsor and Staines on the 15th day of June in the 17th year of our reign, 1215, the new regional year began on 28 May. That is the Magna Carta of 1215. How many people have ever read that all the way through? Yeah. We got little bits and pieces of it in high school. We never got chapter 61, guarantee you that. They don't teach chapter 61 in our academies or our law schools either, and it should be. So, if anybody ever asks you, have you read the Magna Carta 1215, you can say, yes, I have, all the way through. So now, just taking it in a general view, do you start to see how we get this idea of innocent until proven guilty? That if someone's going to bring witness against you, it has to be true witness, because they can be held for bringing false witness against you. Can you see where it's a jury of your peers? Can you see where the sheriff gets his ancient power? That even the government has to be held to the same law that the people are. Isn't that funny? So government itself, the state, is to be held to the same law as the people. Now this was good, and we had a good thing going, but anybody ever heard of qualified immunity? That's where the state can commit a crime that you could be charged with, but they're given immunity to commit that same crime. Is that in keeping with the ancient customs?
When was that? You say it's in our laws now?
It's within the 20th century it happened. Judges have what's called judicial immunity. You've got people within law enforcement like the FBI, which is called qualified immunity. So they can commit atrocities and then claim qualified immunity. That if any of the one of us had done the same thing, would be a capital crime or an infamous crime. This is not a good thing. Why is it that we can see that there's people within Washington, D.C. that we know should be charged with crimes? Treason or just crimes in general. But yet, they never get charged. And yet, they never get due process. But yet, people out here that do even less sometimes are hounded and don't even get due process. I had just the other day, I had a judge tell me that somehow he had the authority to restrict my First Amendment right to freely gather and to freely speak. And he didn't have a problem with that. He didn't see himself as committing blasphemy for doing that. I do.
Oh, holy smokes.
Yeah. We're seeing right now in Hillsdale people that are being prosecuted for their First Amendment free speech, political speech. That the person that was elected didn't like what they had to say about him. And so they're being charged. I'm telling you, the end is nigh. And we'll either keep our republic or we're going to lose it. And remember, if it's a democracy, democracies are as tumultuous in their life as they are violent in their deaths. So if we have slipped into a democracy, be very careful, because the death of it will be very violent, and it'll be a socialist revolution. We know that. So, you see why it's so important to understand history all the way back to 1040? Why 1066 is important? Why 1100 is important? Why 1215 is important? Why these documents are important? You know, it was Patrick Henry that said, I have but one lamp to guide my feet, and that's the lamp of experience. I know no way of judging the future but by the past. History will repeat itself. There's no doubt it will repeat itself. Are you going to be able to recognize when it's bad, when it's coming about bad? Go ahead.
Why are so many journalists on both sides of the media using the word democracy? Are they just ignorant?
No, actually they're very smart. They're not ignorant. You'll find that Hitler in World War II realized that if you tell the people a lie long enough, it becomes the truth in the minds of the people. And so if you keep using the word democracy, you'll find that they get talking points. And if you go among all the different media stations, you'll hear them say almost identically, exactly the same thing, as if they came up with the story themselves. Isn't that odd? Why do you think that is? See, the press, the free press, was supposed to be the fourth estate of government. And the reason why it was supposed to be there is because it was supposed to keep an eye on government actors and let us know what was going on so that we could keep them in good behavior. But when our news media